Thank you for purchasing the Detail King Auto Detailing Training Engine Wash Up and Prep video. I'm Nick Vacco, the president and founder of Detail King. This is our facility. We are located in beautiful Plum Borough, Pennsylvania. We're kind of out in the country, out in the woods, which very nice, peaceful surrounding. We have a 7,000 square foot facility. Here you see our showroom. It also is connected to our warehouse and our sales and customer support offices. We are open 6 days a week and also on Sundays for our training. What we're going to show you today is a engine cleaning and wash up and prep of this Saab convertible that has just pulled in. We're looking over the vehicle now, basically to see what we need, and we'll go over that a little bit more in depth later. We are going to start on the engine in a moment. Right now, basically, we're backing it onto our 10-foot by 20-foot car wash mat. And it has a foam berm on it, so you can just pull the vehicle on it, do your wash up, and then pull it back off and extract the water right away from the mat. We are also pulling up in our mobile detailing van, which has a pressure washer on it. And if you're a mobile operator, this kind of gives you an idea what you may be doing when you are operating your mobile auto detailing as business, especially if you are at a business location where you have to contain your water. So you can see how the van is lettered up, so it does attract some attention. This is a pressure washer, of course. It's a 2000 PSI pressure washer. And that's pretty much all you need. We're actually going to put a low pressure tip on it when we start cleaning the engine. That just shows you some more of the lettering. Now here's the dirty engine on the Saab. Saab's a few years old. You can see the engine is nice and dirty and grimy, and definitely begging for an engine shampoo. Now we just showed you a quick before and after picture. And now we're going to go over the proper methods and procedures of what you need to clean and detail and dress the engine. Clean engine always makes the vehicle run cooler. Okay, we set up our canopy, and that's to put some shade on not only the vehicle but also on the detailer. What I'm going to do now is spray a little of our Final Touch Ultra Wax on the fenders. It's a real thin express wax. It'll protect the fenders from the degreaser that we're going to use, and from the grease and the water, of course, that's going to splatter out of the engine compartment. And we'll do that on both fenders. This product actually dries very quickly. Dries in a matter of moments, and it's very easy to wipe away. You don't necessarily have to put this on, but as an added precaution, we do it. Take a little bit of WD-40, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to spray the electrical components that may be exposed, that aren't covered up with plastic. What that coating does, it protects it from the water. Any exposed wires, distributor cap, wires, anything electrical that may be exposed to the water that I feel could be vulnerable, I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 on just to coat them. I'm now going to take a plastic bag and I'm going to find the alternator, if it can be found, and or the distributor cap, and I'm going to cover them up with plastic and maybe even secure them with a rubber band. Just be sure you take the plastic off of the alternator or distributor cap before you start the car up. Now I'm going to change my tip. I'm going to put a low pressure tip on. Don't want to use high pressure water on an engine compartment. You could even use a garden hose if you had to. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to wet all the exposed areas down first. I'm going to make sure the engine is cool and of course not running. You don't want to spray it onto a hot motor. It's okay if it's warm, but preferably cool. I'm going to also wet the engine, and I'm going to wet the fenders. Even though I have the wax on, I'm still going to wet the fenders, and I'm going to wet the front nose also. I'm going to take a degreaser product. It's called Citrus Degreaser, and it's caustic, so you have to be careful using it. That's one of the reasons we wet the fenders and the front bumper. And I'm going to start at the top and I'll work my way down. I'm going to try to stay away from the insulation panel that's on the inner portion of the hood. You don't want to ever get that too wet, because that'll hold water and it could even disintegrate. And then I'm going to just walk around the motor. I'm going to start with the front, around the radiator, around the battery. I'm going to work my way around the motor. I'm going to get into all the hidden cavities right now. I'm going to spray my degreaser. Make sure the engine is wet, and if it starts to dry or evaporate, I'm going to wet it again. Once I coat the engine with the degreaser, I'm going to do some light scrubbing. I'm going to take the exposed metal underneath the hood, and I'm also going to scrub inside the frame rails of the engine. Okay, any of the flat surfaces that are greasy and grimy, I'm using a chemical-resistant flagged bristle polystyrene bristle brush, so it won't scratch any of the components in the engine. It's nice and soft. It will pretty much glide over the surfaces while it's scrubbing them. Make sure I get as many surfaces as I can with that brush. We're also going to use a couple other brushes after I have scrubbed the components that are easy to get to. I'm going to take our engine detailing brush, which is very similar to a radiator brush, and I'm going to get into some of the areas that I was not able to get into with the green brush. As you can see, the engine compartments have lots of cavities, and most of the time the degreaser in the water will rinse away the dirt, but sometimes you got to scrub. Typically, the older the vehicle, the more scrubbing that you have to do. But it only takes a few minutes, and it's well worth the effort. Okay. Next, I'm going to take our nylon bristle detail brush, and I'm going to get into some of the cavities that the other two brushes were not able to do. Some of the tighter spots. Now this brush is pretty aggressive because the bristles are stiff. Dip it in water just to rinse it. Get into the lid of one of the reservoir. Scrub that. I'm also going to scrub around the battery terminals. Take just a minute or two to get into some of the tighter spots with that brush. Now I'm going to take a Scotch pad. Now it's not a very aggressive Scotch pad. Okay, it's about as aggressive as a Scotch pad that you would use to scrub your pots and pans at home. And I'm just going to go over it one more time, just to get any of the remaining grease and grime that is left in the upper portion of the engine compartment, the frame rails of the engine, and some of the other components. Many times the green brush that I used is enough, but this just goes to show you another step that you can use this particular inexpensive scrubbing product with. You can usually charge a customer anywhere from $35 and more to do a complete engine cleaning, detailing, and dressing the way you are going to see this one done. Okay, that's called a large cone brush. I'm going to wet it and dip it in my bucket, and there's nothing in my bucket except for just water. And just hit a couple more areas that the other brushes were not able to clean too well. That brush can also be used on wheels, and it can be used on grills with the larger grill openings. It's made of a bristle called Tampico. Okay, now we're going to rinse. Again, we're going to start at the top. We're going to work our way down. We're going to try to stay away from the insulation pad. If the insulation pad does get a little wet, you can always dry it with a towel. If you have an insulation pad that is dirty, okay, we will show you in a few minutes how to clean that. But you don't want to really take your pressure washer directly to it. Okay, I'm giving a light rinse. Again, I'm still using my low pressure tip, and I can get a little closer to the components just because I am using a low pressure tip. If I was using the high pressure tip, as you will see we'll use later on the vehicle, you could do some damage to the engine. Okay, we got it nice and rinsed. It looks 100% better. I'm going to make sure I remove the plastic because I want to start the engine up to make sure it runs. And if you have the time, let it run for 5 minutes or so to start evaporating the water from the engine compartment. But at least start it up so you know it does run, so you know you don't have to fool around blowing out the distributor cap. And thumbs up, we got her started up. Now I'm going to take our Tornador air gun and I'm going to dry it. Okay, now obviously with the hood up, it's a summer day, it's warmer, and if I would have let the engine run a little bit longer, I would have probably evaporated more of the water off. You do not want to do this procedure with the engine running. Never work in the engine compartment with the engine running, or have someone else work in the engine compartment while it's running, or while you start the vehicle. That's not safe to do. So never work in the engine compartment while the engine is running. Basically taking compressed air and I'm blow drying the motor. Make sure I get into that windshield cowl area. Sometimes there's debris in there, leaves, twigs. Make sure you get them all out during the engine cleaning process. Whether you blow it out with a blowgun or vacuum it out, or take it out by hand. Okay, the fenders probably got all spotted up because it is outside, it is warm. Got some evaporation going on with some water spots and some degreaser. The fenders are in great shape, but I'm going to shine them up because anticipate that this customer is getting nothing else done except the motor. So you wet the car, you got to dry the areas that you wet, you got to clean the windshield. I don't want to jump ahead too far, but I want to put a nice coat of wax on again on the fenders, and then I'll remove the wax, and that'll remove any spots that I may have gotten cleaning the motor. Dry any other areas inside that still may be a little damp. I'm using nothing more than a microfiber towel. You want to get the motor relatively dry so you can go to the next step, which would be the dressing step. So you can see we do a pretty thorough job cleaning the motor. Doesn't take that long. Okay, next up we're going to take non-silicone engine dressing. Right now I'm applying it with a sprayer. The product is actually in a quart bottle. I'm taking the black plastic areas, the covers, the hoses. I'm going to put a light dressing on. This is a non-silicone dressing. You do not want to use a silicone dressing on the engine compartment, because the silicone dressing, the silicone that's actually in the dressing, could create havoc with various sensors. Plus it'll look too shiny, it'll give it a fake look. This will not give it a fake look, this will brighten it up. I've applied the dressing. I'm now going to smooth it out, move it around with the Tornador air gun. As you can see, it's really brightening up the black plastic covers. It really makes it look good. If you're going to sell your car, this is perfect service to do. If a customer is selling a car, it's one of the first things people look at when they're looking to buy a pre-owned vehicle, is what kind of condition the engine's in. They may not know too much about the mechanical part of that motor, but if it's looking clean, it helps sell it faster and get top buck. I'm just taking a basic shop rag now, and some of the dressing that's still may not be evenly distributed in the engine compartment, I'm going to smooth out now. And I must say, it looks pretty good. Engines are always a great proof statement to show, especially before and after. And it's even okay to spray a little engine dressing on your shop towel to get some of the areas that you just didn't want to spray. Really don't like spraying the cowls because it'll get all over the windshield. I have better control by spraying it on an applicator or the shop towel to dress the plastic window wiper windshield cowl.